Okay, welcome everyone to this to session five of our program, and specifically today we'll be working on, excuse me, data literacy for AI. So, in the past four sessions, we've come across several aspects relating to AI. We came across ethics related to AI, what AI is all about in terms of how it is built, like the workings of AI. We came up where we mentioned things like the algorithms. We mentioned things like supervised learning. Then we also saw the the ethics that govern the use of AI, how we could use AI properly. Next, we move to tools. That is tools. We could tools, AI tools for creativity, where we saw various tools that could permit us with the creation of videos, creation of various content, multimedia content. Next, which was our last session before this, was some prompt engineering, where we saw what was a prompt, how the various processes involved in building a good prompt. We also mentioned aspects of things like token, what token is, how we could engineer prompts in order to which could help manage tokens. To queue up from there, in session five, the first four sessions have all been related to interaction with AI. That is, it dwelled on more of knowing AI. In this session from session five, which you can term as phase two, we'll be working on more on our interaction with AI, how to use it more deeply. And the first session under phase two, as Ella mentioned, the session five specifically, data literacy for AI. And here we'll come up, we are going to discuss or work on data collection, cleaning, visualization, understanding data bias and its limitations. And for our focus skills, we're talking of our focus skills are analytical thinking, critical judgment. And for our thinking lens, that is what this session aims to answer or would help us answer is what is the story behind data, what is missing. So with this session, we'll be able to answer those questions. So I'll just give you a recap of what we've done in previous sessions before we proceed. Oh, sorry, I have in this presentation mode. All right. Okay, so our learning outcomes for this session would be defining data. What's a data set? Row, column, structured versus unstructured. We'll see how to clean a messy spreadsheet using AI assistance, no code. Create one chart that tells a clear story. Identify at least three types of bias in a data set and describe one AI application in that is will describe one AI application in their own industry or community. So let's begin. Data literacy, which is one of the terms in what we are working on today. And we can see or look at data literacy as the ability to read, understand, use, and communicate with data for better decision making. Why is this session important? Why is this session part of the program? The birth of AI or what companies use, I think one of the leverages that companies or institutions make use of is data. They want to learn from data. So it's very important that we can also use AI to learn from the data that we have because data has a lot of information which can generate insight. So why is this relevant? Data literacy is the bridge between AI tool and the outcome, that is business goal. Now, business goal does not only mean the context of one running a business. It could be any goal with which you want to achieve, irrespective of it being a business context. AI brilliance lies in its partnership with human ingenuity because AI can illuminate opportunities, find patterns, and model solutions. but it's human who translates those insights into reality. So AI and humans are, like the word says, symbiosis. It's more biological term. There's actually a partnership wherein humans have to use AI in accomplishing tasks, and they leverage or make use of the brilliance of AI when it comes to pattern recognition, illuminate opportunities, that is finding openings, model solutions. But at the end of the day, it is human to actually translate those insights into reality, because we better understand the context and its application better than AI. So AI process data based on the input parameters without much understanding of real world context. Please take note of this. I'll read it over again, this session here. AI process data on input parameters without much understanding real world context, as it might present a technically accurate data related insights, but is culturally insensitive or strategically irrelevant to a business or the outcome. Now, could someone summarize this paragraph here into a term which we've seen over previous sessions? Could anyone voice out that term or write it down in the chat session? I'm also keeping up with the chat. If you didn't get the question, I can say it all over again. In this last paragraph here, it says AI process data based on the input parameters without much understanding of real world context, as it might present a technically accurate data related insight that is culturally insensitive or strategically irrelevant to a business or the outcome. So, could someone just like summarize this into a term which we've been seeing over the previous session? Can anyone remember that term? Please feel free to open your mic and give it a shout, or you write it down in the chat box. Can anyone try, please? Are you guys with me? Because it seems I'm not getting any reaction, and this is somehow unusual. Am I audible to everyone, please? It could be. Let's not be that I'm muted. Yeah, it shows here that like, people cannot really be speaking. Please, can you guys get me? It is really, really quiet, and I don't know if. Okay, Nana says yes, she can hear me. Oh, that's encouraging because it is really quiet. Okay, so okay, Nana says the question again. So under data literacy, we are trying. We're bringing out what data literacy is. We're trying to understand that. And in the last paragraph here, it says that AI processes data based on the input parameters without much understanding of real-world context, as it might present a technically accurate data related insight, but is culturally insensitive or strategically irrelevant to a business or the outcome. And the question is, which I would like you guys to respond, is this paragraph is talking about something or a term which we've come across in previous sessions. And I would like that. I would like someone to maybe tell us what that term is we've come across in previous sessions. Nana says,
Okay. Okay. Can I say? I'm not really sure, but I
yeah.
think non-determinism. I don't know if that's the word, because non-determinism is a term that generates different outputs for the same inputs. I don't know if that correlates with that paragraph.
Yeah, yeah. It's still alike. It's still in the same direction. It's still in the same direction.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me just give the term is AI hallucination. I think we've we've come across. Can you guys actually confirm that we've actually come across this term, so that if you guys haven't come across it, maybe those who are joining now or haven't gotten previous session, you can still dwell on it more. It's a very important aspect in the use of AI, and it's something that when we're using AI, it should always be at the back of our minds. That AI can hallucinate, and hallucination is all what this paragraph actually highlights. That is, AI processes data based on inputs, and it is not aware of real world context. It's not a fact checker. So it might present something technically, it might present an idea or present a response, but it is irrelevant or strategically incorrect or culturally insensitive. It's something I can describe as gibberish. It produces gibberish, but it is not the correct stuff. Gibberish is not the correct stuff. And we had come across this when we were generating images of an analog watch with time 6:30 p.m. And when we gave it a prompt and realized that it generated images that were not accurate. So please, we always keep this at the back of our mind about AI hallucination, please. So, because it guides our usage of AI, and we've mentioned it in the previous sessions. So, oh, sorry about that. Please just give me a moment, please. Just trying to handle an issue here. All right. Sorry. Thank you. Let's proceed. Okay, so in summary, this slide is all about knowing what data literacy is, and we mentioned that. And from here, we see that data literacy is the ability to read, understand, use, and communicate with data for better decision making. And why is it relevant? It's relevant because in that we can use AI to find patterns in data and model solutions, and this will help us provide insights. And you also mentioned that AI processes data based on input without real world context. And it's very important for humans to take note of this, because for every AI output, as we've seen in previous sessions, we need a human signature, because it's a human who can better translate the insight into reality, since we better much understand the context. So in the next slide, it's all about making meaning out of data. Human cent I think it's a very important slide. Everything's important. So we were saying that everything is important, but I want to let's please, this is something also like that you guys will take note of. Human centric skills, I'm reading from here. Human centric skills are of much value now, since machines cannot replicate these and therefore act as a complement to AI's raw power. This is an argument which we have sometimes in our daily life, which we currently have now. about AI replacing jobs or AI replacing activities that humans could do. And it's in this era, human specific skills or human skills that machines cannot replicate are of more value now. The value of those skills have increased because machines cannot replicate them. It therefore means these skills are very, very important since machines cannot replicate them, especially in this world now, in this era of AI. And some of these skills are critical thinking and contextual analysis. And it reads here that AI is prone to hallucinate, and therefore, data literate professionals need critical thinking to spot errors, as they have the knowledge and industry experience to analyze the result. This sometimes begs now. This is where sometimes even me at first I had a misconception about the use of AI. Where we use a tool, let me give for example, you use a tool, an AI tool, to create a video. And some people have found it that it's preferable to use it to create a video without a video editing specialist or a videographer. And they go in to use AI to produce a video. Yeah, you're going to get a video. But if you couple the production of the video with a videographer, it's going to be something much more better. So, critical thinking and contextual analysis is a human centric skill that, when used with AI, when applied with AI, it helps to spot errors and it improves the overall output because with the knowledge and experience of humans in that specific field, we can better spot errors which AI can't. And because why is this? Because if you remember from our previous slide, we talk about AI taking in inputs or parameters without actually knowing real world context, without being versed much more with real world context as compared to humans. The second thing is effective communication and storytelling. This communication is something that spreads all across in every domain. And storytelling, we're going to see more what storytelling is. Now, data needs contextualization to get to the audience, that is stakeholder whosoever. And this is very important because when you are giving out information related to data, it's good for everyone to be on the same page. And if the data can be portrayed or displayed in ways that your audience can understand, it is therefore a problem. And this is a skill that is very, very important as something of communication, very important. The second thing is ethical consideration and bias detection. Another important human centric skill. It says human oversight is important to spot the bias that persists in model due to the data. And with understanding of the source of data can spot potential ethical pitfalls. The question I ask and I ask myself is, have I ever read or do we know what data was used in building various AI models? For example, ChatGPT, Claude AI, and what have you? Have we ever gone to maybe to research to actually know what kind of data was used in building those models? Because when we know the kind of data that was being used, it gives us if the forehand of actually being able to identify potential pitfalls, ethical pitfalls. And as we've come across, that's in session two, we came across bias in AI models. So with ethical consideration and bias detection, it's going to improve our overall usage of AI. And this is and this is focused mainly on the humans or the user of AI. So it's very, very important. On our next slide, which is data basic vocabulary. Now, the question that someone might ask is, well, I'm using AI for my daily task. Why is it important for me to know how to manipulate data? Why is data literacy with AI important? Why is it important? This program, like I think we've been briefed on, it's empowering us how to use AI in various domains. And specifically more in a professional domain, we might be given data and asked to get insights from this data. And even with our own personal data, we could also gain some insights. I'm going to share also more examples. Now, let me just give a brief example. There is what they call personal AI, that is private AI. With this, with this kind of AI, you give it, for example, you could build with this AI, you could give it your agenda or your schedule for a whole week or a whole month, and it's going to help you schedule or reorganize the events or whatever plans you have in a more effective way. Also, AI, you could feed a documentation to an AI, and it's going to learn read through the documentation. It's going to learn from the documentation various aspects, and when a question is being asked, it's going to be able to provide a response based on what is found in the documentation. And all this is being fed to AI as data. That is data which we are giving to the AI. That is why it's also important for us to know how to manipulate this data, how to understand the components of the data. So that's why we are into this session. That's why this session dwells on that. So, um, for data basic vocabulary, we begin with a data set, and simply a data set is any collection of information. It could be a spreadsheet, it could be a folder, or it could be a WhatsApp export. The next thing is a row, and a row is simply a record. For example, in a spreadsheet, the horizontal how should I describe it? The horizontal portion that is of Excel of a spreadsheet that is from one end to another end is what we consider as a record, which is a row, and that could be one transaction or one survey response, for an example. And columns, as the word says, columns is one attribute that of a specific entity, and it could be the name, image, amount, date. Now, data types. Now, when we talk of data types, we talk of the nature or the structure of the data. And it could be text, it could be numbers, it could be dates, it could be yes or no, it could also be a category or a class. And for the word structure, in the context of data, when we hear the word structured data, it's more of the format or the nature of the entire data set. And here we say that it fits neatly into rows and columns. Most of the time, structured data sets fit into rows and columns. So when I say I have a structured data set, I'm indirectly saying that my data fits neatly into rows and columns. Basically, that is the most common form of a structured data set, fitting in rows and columns. Now, for an unstructured data set, it's more of text, images, videos, audio. They don't have a defined structure, and it's also, you can also say that they don't fit neatly into rows and columns. Metadata. Metadata, from the word meta, it is data about data. That is example, who collected it, when and how. And this could, to give an analogy, when I don't, for example, when we're in school, or I'm sure the same thing happened in your school, there used to be roll call, like the teachers took presence of those who are in class. And when they took the data down, they write the dates when the roll call was conducted, and the teacher writes his or her name and signs. Apart from the attendance sheet, the records of in the attendance sheet, the teacher's name, date, time that is also taken down could be seen as the metadata of the attendance sheet. Now, data storytelling. Data storytelling is actually our ability to effectively communicate insights from a data set using narratives and visualizations. Now, when we look at these terms, they might look technical, but they are not actually. But it's, in the context of using AI, we are going to come across these terms or this jargon, and it's important that we get used to them, because as we advance the use of AI and increase our level of expertise, we're going to be seeing these terms, and it's good for us to get comfortable with them. So far, please, is there any question? Any question, please? Nana say, please, can we start recording? Nana, to answer your question, actually, we are recording already, so no need to worry about that. We're actually recording the session. Any question, please? Anyone has a question? The session of today is really, really quiet. I don't know, is people, it's really quiet. Any question, please? Any reaction, please? Please, if you guys are there, please could you just indicate with the thumbs up so that I should know that I'm not speaking to the void, or like just a thumbs up will do, please. If you're there, please could you just indicate thumbs up? Class is really quiet. Please, if you're there, please could you just indicate thumbs up for those who are present. Okay, thumbs up. All right, thank you. No question. Okay, no question. All right. Just to ask, could anyone give me an example of a structured data set? An example of a structured data set based on a data set vocabulary. Could anyone give me an example of a structured data set? An example? Okay, seems no one can. A spreadsheet data set is usually structured. All right, thank you, Mr. Paul. That's correct. A spreadsheet data set is usually structured. What about a CSV? Is a CSV a structured data set? Has anyone heard of the word CSV before? A CSV file. It's a CSV file, a structured data set, structured data. All right. Nana says she knows. Nana says, all right, she knows of CSV. Okay. So Lame says, yes, it is. Okay. Nana says, please, what about RIS? Please, could you give the full meaning of RIS? I'm not sure I've heard of that before. Maybe if you give me the full meaning, I might figure it out. Okay, Gift says, I don't know. Okay, CSV is also a structured data set. A CSV is structured, it's data separated by comma. When you open a CSV in a text document, you see each row, like each attribute, sorry, each value on an attribute is separated from another with a comma. So a CSV actually is. So, okay, thank you very much for the response. I'm very happy about that. So, going to the next slide, research information system data format. Wow. Um, I think I've heard of this before, but I haven't actually looked at the structure before. So, well, I'll give it a try. I'll find out. Thank you. So, our next slide is about data storytelling and visualization. And here we read that data storytelling combines data, visualization, and narrative to communicate data driven insights in a clear and impactful way. What we are doing now is almost data science, data analysis. It's almost. So, and in the world of data science or data analytics, we'll come across terms like data storytelling, visualization. And data storytelling is all about combining data, combining visualizations, and a narrative to communicate data driven insights in a clear and impactful way. As we came across in one of our previous slides, where we spoke about effective communication and data storytelling as one of the human centric skills important in the usage of AI in the context of data literacy using AI. And why is this important? Now, picture yourself trying to explain something to maybe an 80-year-old using vocabulary that is not easily understood. And communication is not really effective because though you're saying things that are actually correct, but the person who is receiving whatever or listening to whatever you're saying cannot really figure out what you mean. And in that case, communication is not effective. And in the context of data, when we are to present findings or we are to present data related information, data storytelling and visualization are one of the best ways to do that. And I think almost all of us have come across this in our daily activities. When you watch the news, or when, for example, if when we watch the news and they are to provide some statistics, for example, about maybe um, statistics related to birth rates, maybe death rates, or population, agriculture, they always accompany this data with visualization, maybe charts. Charts are what we know as visualizations. When they represent them as charts, it helps in understanding actually visually from just by looking at the chart. We could actually know maybe which region has the highest birth rate or death rate or highest growth rate just by looking at the chart. But behind the chart or from where the chart was generated is actually a whole lot of numbers involved. That is tables, rows, columns. That is where the chart was generated from. But the chart has actually demystified our understanding of a data set without actually looking at the entirety of it. So instead of representing numbers on their own, storytelling puts them in a context that explains what the data is telling and why it matters, as well as perhaps what to expect in the future and what actions can be taken. I would like to also reiterate that our use of AI should not mostly be in context of generating videos, in context of generating other things, but also in data. And I'll give an example. I don't know if it was in this session, someone asked me, someone mentioned that he has a post and he had a lot of followers in his social media platform. And, and whenever he made a post, he had good number of reactions. That is, people commented good reactions on the post. But after a while, the person realized that when another post when he made when he actually uploaded new content or posts, the reactions and the comments were not that high. Now, this is how can we identify what is wrong? There are so many ways, and one of the ways is that data could actually be extracted from the post itself, the previous posts. And from the data, we could see that what post actually outperformed others. It could be, and we could look at the several attributes of the post, like what was the content of the post, what time was it posted, what audience did the post target. With all of this is data. We can bring that as metrics about the post, and we can represent the metrics about this post on a spreadsheet where you have maybe post ID, the title of the post, the number of comments, the number of likes, the number of dislikes, and the rest, and so on. And we can feed, and from this, we can have an overview of how the social media platform is performing. And as this statement says, instead of simply representing numbers on their own, storytelling puts them in a context that explains what data is telling, and why it matters, as well as perhaps what to expect in the future and what actions can be taken. So from this, you can know which post, which content you could do in future to have more reactions. And this is very important maybe for people who are managing social media platforms of enterprises or people or even their own. So our next slide is all about the three components of data storytelling. I just want to reiterate once more about the term data storytelling because we're going to run with this throughout the session. So, data storytelling, as is written here, combines data, visualization, and narrative to communicate data-driven insights in a clear and impactful way. The three terms: data, visualization, narrative. And in building up in order to develop a good story for a specific data, three components are required, and these components are the narrative itself, as we saw, data, and the visualization. Now, the data here serves as the foundation of the story, and we could analyze data using descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, or prescriptive means to have a full picture of the data. Descriptive, from the word descript, we are actually describing. Predictive, we are trying to predict, and prescriptive, we are trying to prescribe. So looking at data from these angles will help us have a full picture of the data. And narrative, developing a narrative is actually a storyline that we're going to use to communicate insights learned from the data, that is, the context surrounding it, or the recommended actions. And lastly, visualizations, from the word visual, it has to do with visual representations of the data. And this could be charts, graphs, diagrams, videos, or pictures. Now, we have started, we came across the term data storytelling and visualization. And the question asked itself is why data storytelling matters. I always like to ask whenever I learn something, whenever something is being taught, it's always I like that we should always ask ourselves a retrospective question, or we should self-reflect on why is this even important. There's this fun time, I don't know, there's this saying, I don't know if it's true. My memory, I think I have it quite shallow in my mind. I learned that there was a scientist who actually didn't know by then, I think there were the nine planets. He didn't actually know the nine planets in the solar system. And when they asked the scientists, like a great scientist, like as a scientist, maybe I think he's a well-renowned scientist, as someone as you, why don't you know the nine planets in the solar system? And his response was, it is not relevant. For him, it's not relevant. So he decided not to remember because to the scientist, it was not relevant. So I would like us to always have a standpoint where we want to actually know why something is relevant. So, why data storytelling matters? The first thing is it aids in quickly grasping insights that might otherwise be hidden in large or complex data. Presentation of information in clear and engaging way that does a lot of that does a lot of the analytical thinking, that is lifting the analytical thinking, because Imagine presenting data and using just numbers, the average, the standard deviation, the probability, and you're using statistical jargon. Depending on the audience, not everyone is going to grasp or understand what you're trying to give out. So, data storytelling does the heavy lifting of the analytical part of it. It helps separate data from noise, focus attention on what is needed. As we're going to see in one of the examples today, data has a lot of most of the data we're going to see and even you're going to work with, maybe your daily lives. There are a lot of things to take into consideration. But when we try to develop a story, a narrative behind a specific data set, it helps us to focus, it helps us narrow down our attention to something specific. And also, as we've seen, it improves communication between the audience by creating a shared understanding of what data shows and why it matters. In a world of today, especially if you're trying to convince investors, you're trying to show proof or something, if we can't communicate effectively our intentions or our illustration, then there is a problem because our audience might not grasp what we're saying or what we're trying to explain, and therefore could have a negative feedback. On our next slide, we're going to have see an example of data storytelling and visualization. And from there, we'll see, I think the example will help us to actually further understand what data storytelling and visualization is all about. So, before we look at this example, I would like us to have a 10 minutes break, a 10 minutes break, which will begin at 12:54. And by sorry that I changed the time today. I know usually it used to be from 1 p.m. to 1:10. Please bear with me just for today. The break will begin at 12:54, and we're going to resume back at 1:04. So so please, we're going to break now. 10 minutes break. So catch you shortly at 1:04. Let me just pause the sharing, pause the recording. Hi everyone, welcome back from the break. We're going to continue with the example. We made mention of having going through examples, an example of what data storytelling and visualization is like. And I would like us to watch this video. I'm going to share the video, the link to the video in the chat group. But I'm also going to play the video on the screen here. So um, please let me know if we can actually get audio from the video because I don't really know how that works. Please, can you guys get the video? Can you guys get the audio from the video, please? Can is the audio from the video audible for everyone? Okay. One lesson says no. Oh, how am I going to do it? Let me see. Nana says no. But why is this happening? Let me see. Okay, so if that's the case, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the video and move to specific sections, and I'm going to explain exactly what's kind of like going on. So we have this person who works in global health, and he has data related to global health. And for the data, having the data is not enough, but being able to tell people what has happened with global health over the past centuries, that is 200 years ago, is very important. And in this video, he actually does that by narrating a story, that is doing a data story telling video, where he made use of a data, narrative, and visualizations. So, so you can see here in his data, he has broken down his visualization into 25 years, 50 years, 70 years. And that is at the horizontal scale or the x-axis, you could see an income. So he's actually visualizing data between income and lifespan. And he's doing this with a narrative. It's very unfortunate that I can't play the video, but it's very, very interesting. And you can see here that he's using a chart. This is what we call, sorry, the graph. He's using a graph. And this graph, as you can see here with the dots, represent a specific measurement. That is lifespan, I guess, income. It's very unfortunate that we can't get the video. So, in a nutshell, this person is actually representing the data he has relating to lifespan and income on a graph. And from this graph, he explains, like, he shows a trend how lifespan and income has grown over the years. You can see here now he's focused on in the year 1948. So if we move further, 1970s, and you could see how different countries, how it changes over the years. That is income and lifespan. So you could see how it changes. Oh, it's really unfortunate. Hopefully, I'll resolve it next time. Very unfortunate. So I'll just go back. Okay. All right. So basically, from the video, in one sentence, that is after watching the video, in one sentence, it could be said that despite wars, famines, and disease, virtually every country in the world has gotten richer and healthier over the last 200 years. And the gap between the rich and the poor nations is closing. So, with watching that video, you could actually bring out this. But if we are given the data of that, the data set from which the graph was made out of, it would be quite difficult to quickly come up with this one sentence. But with the graph, it's possible to come up with this easily. And why does this work? It says, rather than pointing to a series of static charts, Rosling as a person becomes an integral part of storytelling. That is, he guides us through the numbers as he moves with the data. As you could see, we moved from 1948 to 1978 and over the years. And he points out specific countries and reacts to unexpected shifts. So, in the course of explaining, because one thing is it's good to come up with the graph, but we also have to explain what the graph illustrates or what the graph represents, and that's what he did. And you could see that he had some animated bubble charts that also reviewed a continuous journey rather than a sequence of before and after comparisons. It's just quite unfortunate that we can't actually watch the video with the audio. So now we are going to we are going to actually have some exercise which I'm going to spearhead for my end, and it's going to be a practical exercise. Hopefully, everyone engages. Um, if you realize in the WhatsApp group, I uploaded three files. I uploaded three files, and in those files, sorry, let me just go back to the WhatsApp group. The three files which I uploaded, the first one is customer ID, name, dates, and it's a CSV file. And the second one is possible prompts, that is prompt.txt. So we are going to actually see how we can establish or we can create a story based on a specific data set and be able to come up with visualizations. So for that, I'm going to quickly launch ChatGPT. I'm going to use ChatGPT. Oh, hello everyone. I'm so sorry. I went and used the same tab which I'm used for the meeting. That's quite reckless of me. Share my screen once more. All right, please, can everyone see my screen, please? Please, can you guys see my screen? I just shared it. I'm going. It's going to be a hands-on exercise and advice. Please, if you could also follow up with me, or you could also access your computer. You could use any AI of choice. Okay, let me say yes. So the objective of this exercise is we are going to see how we could use ChatGPT to actually develop, establish or develop a story behind a specific data set. And I shared the data set with you, with everyone in the WhatsApp group, and I also shared the possible prompts which we could use for that. So before we dive into that, the first thing is the demo, which is the customer data, which I've shared in the group. The first thing is example prompts for data cleaning. When we have data, sometimes it's quite messy in the sense that we may have some values that are not in the right format. We may have some missing values. We might have values that are not correctly placed, and that is why we always have to clean the data. So whatever data we're given to work with, the first thing is we have to ensure that data is cleaned. Cleaning means moving anything that is that is not proper, that is not correct. And I will begin by, first of all, let me just open the data set. So the data set which we're going to use for this exercise is actually a customer data set. And this data set was developed using Copilot. So it's very important for data privacy policies to always mention the source of the data set. So the data set was developed using Copilot. So it's not specific to any company or any person. So it is generated by data set. I'm sorry, by Copilot. So in this data set, it relates to customers. That is customers of a specific enterprise. It could be a organization. It could be maybe customers of a specific service. And in this data set, this is a structured data set as it's a structured data set as we've seen because it fits neatly into rows as you can see here. These are rows. These are rows, and then we have our columns, which represent the various attributes. And in this case, we have as attributes customer ID, customer name, city, the date that the customer joined, and the age. Now, speaking of clean the data, um, if we realize the date, let me begin with the city. Sorry, these are cities all in the UK. So when you look at the cities, there's some form of capitalization which is not proper. That is the way they are being entered, the capitalization or the structure of the cities. We could see here that Manchester or is in all caps, while Manchester here is not in all caps. We could see here Manchester seems like it's misspelled. Leeds is correct, but Leeds here ends with Z, and this is very typical of every data set we use, where we have some spelling errors, we have some mismatch. So we realize here that we have to actually handle the aspect of field names or of the city names. Another aspect is the date format. If we realize the date format is not homogeneous, it's not consistent. We have several date formats. Now, when you look at the age, realize that yeah, the data type for age is usually numbers, but we could see here that it consists of numbers and letters. So here it's supposed to be 30 as in the number, but it's 13 word. So when you look at the data set, you have to clean the data set to remove inconsistent like data types that are not consistent with a specific attribute. For example, for date, it's good we should go for a specific kind of format, and for age, it's good to use the data type text, and for the city, it's good to always use the sentence case, which is the first letter is always capitalized and the rest are in lower cases. So the first thing is we have to upload this data into sorry we have to upload the data into whatever AI tool we're using. And for me, I'm using ChatGPT. And there are several ways to do this. You could, for ChatGPT, I just want to open with Notepad because I want to copy and paste. So for ChatGPT, you can just click here, upload a photo, upload a file. So I think I'll just do that. Let me upload a photo file. So I think I have it here. Oh, sorry. All right. So now there is my file. So going back to our slides. So the first thing in cleaning data, we have to standardize the city names. We have to fix the date format. We have to convert ages stored as text, and we have to remove blank or invalid rows. Did we come across blank or invalid rows? I think it should be. Okay, it seems there is none. But in some cases, we could have blank or invalid rows. We also have to handle them. We also have to detect any anomalies or outliers, especially in statistical data that has to do with transactions, any outliers or anomalies. So, like I mentioned, we have example prompts, which I also sent with everyone. I also sent to the group. So, a possible prompt using AI or natural language processing could be clean the city names, clean the city column by standardizing all spellings to valid UK city names. Use formatting to clear misspellings like Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham, etc. And I'll put a new column called city clean. So copying just this, if I copy the entire of this, and it's a possible prompt. I'm not saying that this is the only prompt you can use. I'm just suppose an example of a prompt. And if we paste it here and click on enter, so please, if you're having access to any AI model of your choice, you could do the same. And it's going to take some time. It's analyzing, it's processing. While it's doing this, let's go back here. Now, when we've cleaned the data, the next thing is actually to develop prompts or write prompts for basic data analysis. That is, we want to get customer distribution by city, maybe age profile analysis, those who maybe join the trends, customer segments. Then after, we could also now create a narrative summary. We could also write prompts to create a narrative summary, executive level storyline, insight to action recommendation. We will also write prompts for city distribution charts, age distribution chart, and customer segmentation dashboard. So I'm going to do a few of these due to time constraint. I won't go run through everything, but I'm just do one prompt per section, and I'm going to see the output. So after pasting the prompt here on for this specific file, it says done. I clean blah 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 blah. So you could see here that it was able to convert or clean Manchester, which was misspelled, to Manchester, Birmingham to Birmingham, correct spell, Glasgow. So it has actually cleaned the data set, and I could simply download this. And I'm going to have the updated version. So, like I said, due to time constraint, if time permits, I'll keep going. So the next thing to do is we could fix the date format. We could standardize a specific date format throughout. And going back to our proposed prompts for this session, you could use any prompt you want. The prompt says convert all values in the dashboard column, in the date joint column into a single ISO format, that is year, month, day. And detect and correct formats such as 12th of March 2024, and those with hyphens, those written words. So copying this, like I said, this you could edit the prompt, and you could write the prompt in your desired format. This is just an example. And when we do this, it's going to actually convert the format, and this is still all about data cleaning. It's going to clean the data so that the data itself is comprehensible, it's unique, it's ordered. Because when we have different formats, it's difficult to sometimes it causes confusion. Like, are we using an American format, date format, or using a UK date format? So it's always good to establish this at the beginning when in the process of cleaning the data. Now, the next prompt is all about converting the age column into numeric values. That's we're going to trim white spaces, that is spaces, blank spaces before and after. We are going to convert, you can see here, convert text numbers like 30 into digits and flag any values that cannot be interpreted. We could maybe have a misspelling of 4 to 4, and we could flag that out, and we could manually correct that ourselves. So copy the prompt again, and just paste it here. And like we saw in our previous session, prompt engineering, we could always redefine the prompt. We could always update or refactor the prompt if it does not meet our objectives or the outcome. And you could see here, it was able to identify that converting numeric value 30 to 30. So it identified that 30 is actually 30 as a numeric value. And going through the data set, there's nothing else. It can't actually match up anything as uninterpretable, because from our data here, looking at the age column, I think there is nothing there that is out of the scope of being a number in either word or a number itself. So our next prompt is identify and remove blank rows or missing essential values such as customer ID, name, or city. No need for that because everything is there. Check for abnormalities, age, or join dates. Highlight any various false or other expected range. You could also add this. This is time constraint. We are running out of time. I'm going to move straight up to the prompt for basic data analysis. And here, our interest is to get information or see the customer distribution by city. But before going into the prompt for data analysis, please, is there any questions so far when it comes to data cleaning? I'm using ChatGPT. Please, if you're using any model of your choice, no worries. The most important thing is you have the output which you desire. Please, any question? Any question, please? Any question, please? Any contribution? Anything you'd like to add? Anything anyone would like to add so that okay, if there's no reaction, no question, no contribution, please can you guys just do a thumbs up for like just to know that I'm not talking to the void. Please thumbs up. Can you just indicate with the thumbs up, please, everyone? All right, thank you guys very much. Thank you guys. Okay. Since no questions so far, after cleaning the data, the next thing we'll move on to is prompt for basic data analysis. And the first thing is we're interested in is an example is the customer distribution by city, and we're going to paste in these prompts still on the same data set, the refined data set or the updated data set, and the prompt says calculate the number of customers per clean city, provide percentages. Oh, I think I was unable to run the data is to be used. Oh, I think so. So if you could see here, I've reached my data analysis limit. So this is more of token. It's because I'm using a free edition of ChatGPT. So I've exhausted my limits and would only be possible to try again tomorrow. Wow, tomorrow. So what I could do is, since I'm already here, I've, what I'll do is I'm just going to download the latest clean file, and I'm going to move to Gemini to continue. Normally, for those who have updated versions or you haven't reached reached the limits of your usage, you could use that. So I'm just going to paste it here. I'm going to get back the same prompts. So I'm going to paste it there. Um, So, like I said, my interest is in actually getting customer distribution by city, and the prompt is calculate the number of customers per clean city, provide percentages, and rank the cities from highest to lowest. Okay, so you could see Gemini has given me several choices. The first one being Python code, and the second actually gave me the table, which is what I wanted. So you can see here that in plain text, the city with the highest is Manchester with a customer count of 5 and percentage 5, followed by Liverpool, Edinburgh, Sheffield, Bristol. So this is actually what I want. That is the table. So okay, the next prompt is creating an age distribution summary that is mean, median, maximum age, and using an age range too. So I'm just going to paste this in here. So these are examples of prompts, and this is an example of how we can use AI to do basic data analysis. So we could see here that it says based on the data input, here is the age distribution summary calculated from standardized numerical age column, which is The mean average age is 38.73 years. Median age is 36. Most common age 29 years. Minimum 26. Maximum 25. So these are summary statistics we can get from data with the usage of simply an AI prompt and the data itself. So there are several other prompts which we could use, such as analyzing the customer signups over time. That is, you identify sparks, patterns, or I'll just use this, and then we're going to skip from there and go to charts. So we want to analyze the customer signups over time, where we identify spikes, that is growth, dips, where we have a sharp decrease, and patterns by week or month. So we have something like a monthly overview, and we have information here. It says signups dramatically peaked in April, in April, accounting for 60% of all customer acquisition in the far. That is in March 2024, 24 signups, April 2024, 60 signups, and May 2024, 16 signups, partial month data. So this is more of a monthly trend, and we could go further to get the weekly trend. And this is all about identifying. You can see we have a graph here where we have weekly customer sign up. And just from this graph, as we're talking of data visualization, rather than giving someone the entire data set or the data sheet to go across, presenting just this graph has only helped in summarizing data and help in focusing. Like, for example, the first graph here, the weekly customer sign up in spring 2024, and this year is more of the monthly customer sign-ups. And you could see here that in the month of March, we had 24, in the month of April, we had 60, and the month of, which month is this? Let's see. May, yes. In the month of May, we had 16. And just looking at this, we could quickly identify which month had the highest and which month had the lowest in terms of number of signups. So visualizations helps also in, like as we saw earlier, in also in demystifying the how we understand or how we view the data. The next thing is we'll go straight to the data storytelling. That is prompts for data storytelling. And one of the prompts we'll go with is we'll give you the prompt that write a clear, engaging narrative, explain the key insights from the data set. That is, which city had the most customers, which age profiles look, what the age profile looks like, and how join dates and trend over time, and using plain language suitable for a business audience. So if you realize, those who, if you can remember from our session on prompt engineering, context is always important. So you always it's good to give the model a role. What role is it playing? So you could see here. Hopefully I haven't exhausted my tokens or exhausted. All right. So this is an example of a storyline for explainer data. That is, and the executive summary is understanding our customer base. So you could use this in your presentation or in a conference to the audience for them to actually understand for them to understand what the data is all about. And you could see here that one of the aspects you could talk about is the geographic footprint. That is a balanced UK presence. So just imagine you picture yourself on the stage and you're talking to people, and you utter this paragraph where it says, at first glance, our customers base looks perfectly distributed across UK major economic centers. When we look at the raw entries, the top 10 cities are tied in dead heat, which with each location claiming exactly 5% of our total customer population. So it seems that here we are bringing up a narrative, we are bringing up a context to help explain the data as a whole. The Big Ten, you have Manchester, Liverpool, and the Big Ten cities. You have the operational caveat. So With the help of AI, we've been able to actually draft up a storyline to help us in explaining what our data is all about, explaining insights we gather from data, or explaining information from the data. We have several other prompts in that file which you could use for data storytelling. That is, you could generate a concise executive summary highlighting the three most important insights and why they matter for each customer growth strategy. And you also you could also give the prompt based on a clean data set, provide actionable recommendations for marketing, customer engagement, or regional strategy. So these are just examples amongst many which you could actually use for prompting the AI for developing data storytelling. There are many more. Now, what about prompts for visualization? So we could actually use this as one of the prompts where we say, create a bar chart showing the number of customers per clean city and we sorted in descending order. Going back to Gemini. Okay, yeah. So I think it's generated code or something. Okay, analyzing. So as you can see here, this is a bar chart which is generated based on our prompt showing the number of customers per clean city sorted in descending order. So we have, for example, Manchester has the highest of 12 number of customers in the city of Manchester, 12, and city of Liverpool and London have the lowest of 9. So this is a visualization which you could use in the presentation to a specific audience, showing the variation in number of customers across cities in the UK or across cities in the data. So we have several other prompts we could use for creating a visualization. And the last one, which I would like us to see, is creating a story with 4 to 6 visuals that walk the audience through customer landscape, who they are, where they live, and how they join over time. So I'm going to give this a try. We could use the same data set to actually generate a dashboard. So a lot of things that could be done. And like I said, it needs the human signature at the end of the day. We have to go through it to ensure that the outcome is the most favorable and it meets up with the context. And it's also correct to. So, for example, here we see, I remember our prompt is create a storyboard with 4 to 6 visuals that walk the audience through the customer landscape, who they are, where they live, and how they join over time. So, let me just, why my mouse keeps doing this. So we could see here, number one, where they live, called geographic hubs. So from here, we see that most of our customers, the majority, that's the highest city, the city with the largest number of customers is Manchester, which with 12 as the number, followed by Leeds and London. And from this, you can conclude that there is not much variation across the number of customers across the various cities. Now, who they are, the two primary age peaks, and we could see as we saw, they're about the median age, the maximum age, the minimum age. Who the eyes dealing about the age of the customers. Thirdly, the target segments, that is the age bracket breakdown. And you could see here that majority of the customers are between the age 26 to 35, and followed by 46 to 55 and 36 to 45. So just now, how will this data be important? Why is it important? Because just imagine yourself, you are trying to do a marketing campaign and you are trying to capture more youths or people in the age range 36 to 35. With this kind of data, it makes it relevant to know how it's helpful for the marketing department to know who to target, because it's shown here clearly that majority of the customers are between the age 26 to 35. That's they make most of the customer population. So if we are to increase sales or maybe retain a majority of the customers, the marketing team will tend to target this specific age group, followed by 46 to 55, and then 36 to 45. Now, how they join the spring 2024 acquisition peak, and from what we've seen, from the month of March till the month of this April, yeah, April, there's a peak. Most of the customers joined in the month of March, the month of April. And why could this be that most we have so many customers in the month of March, the month of April? It could be a question asked by the marketing team or the sales team. Maybe for a specific service, for example, it could be the dry season, and more people went in for clothing or for goods that favor the spring season. Whereas in the month of June, which approaches maybe summer, sales decline or we have less customers because people now opted for products more related to summer. So these are various ways that we could interpret the data, and like we mentioned at the beginning of our slides, we need a human signature at the end of the day to interpret and implement the insights gained from the data. So with just this graph, AI just give like now, AI has generated this graph. But now, from the standpoint of maybe a member in the sales department or a member in the marketing department, I can actually bring out insights, or I can actually interpret the data based on the context at hand. Now, the context of summer and winter clothing is just an example. It could be a different context depending on the industry with which we're referring to. So, the human signature is very, very important in this. So, these are just examples of prompts that we could use, and there are several others and several things that we could do to enhance our data storytelling and visualization. Now, the next thing is I would like us back to our slides is the bias in data. Now, we came across this in session 2, and it's always good to come across it because it's glued to to AI. Bias, hallucination, these are things that are glued to AI, and it's always good that we should have this, we should know this. And one of the bias is selection bias, that is, who is missing from the data. We could have a data set, and based on where the data was collected and how it was collected, it might have excluded or exempted certain group of people. And we have to ask the question, but why? Why is a certain group of people excluded or exempted? Because it's also going to affect our conclusions or affect our insights or affect whatever output we have from that data in terms of AI. Then measurement bias, the tool itself with bias, the scale used. The scale used cannot favor, maybe didn't take into consideration. For example, maybe the scale wasn't configured to take into consideration different aspects of whatever thing they were measuring. Now we also have historical bias, and an example is the world the data came from was unfair. Sorry, I meant to have to write the world. The world the data came from was unfair. E.g., hiring data. If you get hiring data from decades that excluded women, it's going to have an effect on the output or on the outcome. So for every data set with which we are going to be working with, or with which you're going to work with, some of the questions we should ask is who is in this data, who is not, who collected the data, what were their incentive of collecting this data. This all help in actually ruling out bias. What did they not record? Very important. Sometimes we're always interested in what they recorded, but what did they not record? How old is it? How has the world changed since then? Like we deal with data, as time goes on, data changes because human behavior also changes, which therefore means that the longevity or the time at which the data was collected also has an impact. Now, we have AI across industries, and these are just several examples, and we've been seeing, and I'll share them with you. In health, we use AI could be used for reading X-ray. How are X-rays fed into AI through the same methods we've seen? It could be X-ray in a digital format. It could be a file that has X-ray results, and it is fed into AI to help it in understanding or identifying patterns. We have triaging symptoms, translating patient notes. In agriculture, crop disease detection from phone photos. You could just take a picture of the crops and you upload those pictures, which is still data, into AI, and AI will be able to identify patterns depending on the kind of AI model you're using to take if the crop is being infested with disease, if the crop is infested. You code it for yield prediction. Once you feed AI with your prediction, with your yield data set, it could be able to predict your yield in a specific time frame depending on the nature of the data. In finance, fraud detection, credit scoring, automated reconciliation. In retail and SME stands for small and medium-sized enterprises. So I didn't outline that. We have inventory forecasting, receipt scanning, customer chatbots like on WhatsApp. If you contact some people now, some organizations, that is small shops, have configured WhatsApps for as customer assistants. And how they do that, they have fed in to AI their customer related, their business related data. And from their business related data, they are able to respond to customers' queries. Now, for creativity, you have music design, video editing, content moderation. So in our next slide, I've done most of the talking, and it's also good for us to engage. And I would like anyone, this is an activity, if you could, since no need to write on, since we're discussing, but I'm going to share it again in the WhatsApp group, and we're going to all participate. So since we still have a bit of like 10 minutes left, so I would like anyone, feel free if it's a topic, anything or any industry of interest. So please, the activity is you pick one industry, you identify a repetitive task in that industry, and why is it frustrating? Like the pain of that specific task, like why is it frustrating or slow today? And you also outline how AI can help in reducing the pain or eliminating the pain for that related task, and what data is needed for AI to help you in the process. Like, what info would AI need to do the job, and the risk, that is what could go wrong and who could be harmed. So please, I think I've done most of the talking for some time now. And also, please, if you have any question, please also you could ask. If you have any contribution, you could also highlight. And so, please, anyone, please, this is the activity we have before us now. Pick one industry of your choice, identify a repetitive task, and what the pain, you identify the pain in the task, that is why it's frustrating or why is it slow, and try to how would AI help into maybe assist, automate, advice, and what data would AI need for it to do its job, and what are the risks at the end of the day, like what could go wrong, who could be harmed. So please, anyone, please, I'd like to get so much any reaction. Please don't be shy if you give maybe shy of saying if you're afraid of saying something which you might consider wrong. No, it's always good to share, and we learn from ourselves, we learn from each other, and we try to ameliorate whatever response you give. So anyone, I would like a reaction from anyone, please. Pick one industry, identify a repetitive task in this industry. Why is it a pain? Why is it frustrating? Why is it slow? How could AI help grow? What is the data needed? What are the risks? What could go wrong or who could be harmed? All right. So while maybe some people are brainstorming, I'll give an example. I'll give an example. I'll begin with myself. So one of the industry which I can identify is the I think bank falls under the finance industry, right? Banks. I hope so. So under the finance industry or maybe accounting, maybe banking industry, one of the repetitive tasks in the industry is about handling customer complaints. Customer complaints is really is one of the services or one of the tasks that is really repetitive in the industry. That is, a lot of banks have to provide services to achieve this task, and it is frustrating when there are so many clients, but there is not enough manpower to respond or handle these clients, like the complaints from these clients. And we realize that processing of complaints is quite slow. And when it is quite slow, it also affects the bank's reputation, it affects customer satisfaction. And at the end of the day, at the end of maybe all this, it might result to the banks having low number of customers because some of them don't like the services being provided. So, how can AI help in this? AI could be brought in the form of an AI assistant or an AI chatbot, wherein when clients can actually issue or actually type out their complaints, and the AI would first of all try to identify what department in the bank is actually, because a bank has several departments and each department has a specific task. So when a client puts in a specific complaint, the AI is able to identify what department of the bank can handle or can take charge of the complaint. Then, based on the department, it will then be able to channel that complaint to the department, or we could analyze the complaint and propose ways forward, depending on the kind of complaint itself. Because if the complaint is it's a first time kind of complaint, the AI won't have much to do on, but maybe just to forward it to a human assistant. But if it's something that has been occurring time and time and time and over again, and it's something the AI had learned in previous data sets, then it can propose ways forward. Now, what data will be needed for this? And also, another way to handle the complaints is we could equip humans, for example, and now we could see this is maybe new employees. New employees sometimes don't keep up with complaints because of experience. Maybe some of them lack the experience. But with AI could assist employees in quickly diagnosing a complaint to actually know specifically what is the issue. So, and the data needed here would be data sets related to previous complaints and how they resolved, or what department resolved it. It will also need the policy, the banking policy, that the bank's policy, the customer policy of the bank. We also need the bank procedures. So every relevant information that is being used by bankers or by each department to resolve a problem and pass records on how they were resolved is used as data for the AI. And with this, he'll be able to do his job. And the risk about all this is what could go wrong. What could go wrong is, for example, in case there is a new kind of complaint which has never originated before, and when gives the AI assistant might hallucinate and might give a response which is not technically correct, and that might lead to disruption of services. And who could be harmed? The bank and the customers and its clients could all be harmed. So this is just an example on one of the an example of the activity on how, or maybe one of the domains, how data data literacy, data is used in leveraging AI, like how we can use data. We could input data into an AI model or NLP and use specific prompts to help us gain insights or understand what's actually going on in the data. And it's very important, and it's because sometimes when we look at this specific aspect, even me, I see it to be more of corporate level or professional level. But in our day-to-day life, it's still useful. But at the end of the day, one important thing I always like us, maybe I haven't mentioned, and it's very important I mention is when we are feeding any information into AI, we should take note of data privacy policies. First thing you should know the data privacy policy of the AI we're using itself, or the AI model, be it ChatGPT, Claude. What is that data privacy policy? Companies have private AI within an AI and they can easily do this. But now, when we are using public AI, we should take into consideration the data privacy policy of the AI company itself or the AI tool itself, and and the data privacy policy of the company in which the data originated from, or in general, data privacy ethics. It is very, very, very important when dealing with AI data, because not knowing the data privacy policy and uploading private data could compromise a company, or could compromise, or could lead to sanctions or issues relating to both the company and an individual. So please always ensure never and ever upload personal information, that is, should I say, let me say intellectual property, IP, into public AI. Never. So, with this example I've given, and since we're running out of time, I think with this, you guys can, with this, it can be used as a framework for actually sharing with us your take on the activity in the WhatsApp group. As projects, I'm sorry for the past session we didn't have any project. Very sorry about that. So for this week's project, the project is pick a data set, and you can see here I said ensure the data set is suitable for use, and also take into consideration data privacy and ethics. And with the data set, using either ChatGPT or Claude, we are to write a one-page data story, and should contain highlights. And in that same project, we should make a one chart that tells the clearest single insight. So that is the project for this week. So thank you guys. We are at the end of the session, and if you have any question, anything to contribute, anything to add, I'm going to please you could just open your mic or you write in the chat box. I'm going to stop the screen recording since the end of the session, and I'm going to still be live for the next 10 minutes. So please, if you have any worries, contribution, question, excuse me, or reaction, please feel free. But yeah, feel free. Okay. Thank you guys once more. Thank you, everyone. Thank you guys very much for the session of today. Hopefully, see you guys next week.